What's up, everybody? Back again, the Afros. I'm Coach Peroli.
I'm Coach Heck.
And today we have 4 jab release drills for your guys to work. Now, as always, we have different equipment we use, but if you ever don't have something or need to substitute, always feel free to reach out. We're willing to help and show you guys what you can use in lieu of, a shoot or a pop-up. Whatever works for you guys and whatever works best for your players, we always say that that's what you should be using. We tend to use this stuff because our guys seem to like it and it seems to give us the best results. So let's get started. Our first jab release drill is against these pop-ups. We're just kind of taking a jab each way, working low through the pops, and then we have a shoot at the top end, which is going to help lower our pad level into that vertical release. And the big thing here I want to hit on, and Coach can kind of attest to this, is a lot of guys you see work on the release phase and not really what's going to happen after it. And the big thing is you want to get re-vertical, you want to get back on your route. So having these bags helps that, because that last bag, as you can see, we're kind of trying to stem and get over top of. Craig does a great job here. He gets his jabs in it, then that last bag he just stacks and gets vertical on.
Yeah, it's important also as you use the shoot to have your guys not duck through the shoot. You want to kind of blade through it and get low and sink through it, but sometimes with taller guys, their tendency is to duck, so you want to keep an eye out for that. And we also had a few clips in here where guys were standing behind the pops with crowns, and that's just so that we don't forget about using our arms as we do these jab releases.
Right, we all have a guy with the crowns on some of the bags just to, again, have our hand fighting ready, wipe it up or wash it down. And like Coach said, a lot of taller guys or guys that are new to shoots tend to just dip their head so they can focus on the speed. Again, just emphasizing sinking your level and staying low through the shoot. That's the biggest thing we like to push to our guys.
This is one here where we use the same idea as the pops. Not everybody has pops. They're heavy, they're expensive, they're not portable. 4 hoop-type plastic devices here, hula hoops, 2 of them, and the other 2 are like D-line PVC hoops that we tape together. And you can move these around. Jerry went first here. He's got a little bit of a longer stride. It gives the receiver kind of a visual landmark to hit. We put a crowner at the end here so you get some hand technique at the end. But these are very accessible to pretty much any coach. You can throw them in your trunk. Some people have rings, these agility rings that you see. That also could work well. And the catch here is really the really kind of least important thing. It's the release. And we're just trying to give you some options to use if you don't have all the equipment that's expensive or not really accessible.
See a good job here with the wiping away at the top end with the crowning. Coach made a point that the catch is the least important thing, but we never kind of do drills just to do the footwork aspect. We always want to have at least one catch in almost all of our drills. And even sometimes we find ways to add more catches because that's what you want to maximize your reps doing. I mean, you are receivers or backs, so you want to be handling the football, catching the football in almost all your drills.
Nice thing about these hoops, they're safe, they're portable, they're cheap, easy to set up, easy to adjust. If you have a tall receiver or shorter running back, you can adjust them quickly.
I think a big thing too, and Coach can agree with this, is our big emphasis is our shoulders aren't turning with the jabs of these hoops, right? We're not turning and facing the direction we're jabbing. We're keeping our shoulders perpendicular or parallel to the line of scrimmage, trying to stay vertical, kind of sell that with the jabs, and then get going. You can see this is after they've gotten a couple reps of it. They're feeling more comfortable. We're starting to speed up through this.
This also could be a great drill to use early in practice just to get some catches, just to get some feet moving. Doesn't take a lot of space. This could be a great pre-practice drill. You can run a bunch of guys through this in a quick, short amount of time.
Definitely a great pre-practice, post-practice drill.
Now we have PVC shoots. We have several different clips here. We have other clips where we have the shoots a little tighter. So the shoots give us 2 things. It gives us not only the jab aspect of it with the footwork, but it gives us a level check and trying to be low and athletic through here. So we have 2 shoots that are exact same height, and then the third shoot is we want to be thin through that third shoot. and that kind of begins the stack phase. This is a really crowded environment. You can see the two chutes almost form a V there, and the receiver has to squirt through there and turn his shoulders, because if he doesn't do that, the shoulder pads are going to hit the chute. So that's kind of what we were trying to achieve there. We have some other clips where the chutes are set up a little differently than this, but we're just giving the receiver a reference point to look at, and then he blades through and gets a crown and gets a ball at the end. And we actually use that term. We'll use the term blade, and that's just trying to get our shoulders skinny to reduce the surface area, so the defensive back doesn't have a lot of things to grab, hit, disrupt, reroute.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of guys, NFL, on Saturdays too, using that blade release, limiting your surface area for the DB. This is a great drill for that, because like Coach said, their PVC chutes are tight enough where you kind of have to, if you're a bigger guy, like we have Jake going here and Jerry will go through it as well, you have to kind of squeak through and like squeeze through just to get through vertical. Here we go here now. DB is kind of running with him.
Now we're working on some separation stuff when we got to this phase. We're working on some, here's some of the different shots we have here. The chutes are set up differently now. You can see the receiver really has to get his helmet underneath the chute. This is the setup I kind of like the best. You see how they're set up here, and it forces the receiver to really get inside and underneath the chute and then get low. And you have this shield here, just as Coach Paroli mentioned it. You have this plan at the end after your release, and there's going to be some contact. And the shield, we want the shield on the back of the receiver's numbers, because if he gets anywhere else, that tells the receiver he's too wide and too fat going through that wide-legged chute, and that's what that shield really kind of indicates. And you notice how we're working on a line here, just trying to work on a line and just trying to run on that line and finish the route and the catch on that line going towards the press box here.
Another good reason I like the chutes too, Coach, and you can probably agree, is you see a lot of guys when they do these release moves, they kind of like almost increase their level. They come up very high in those jab steps. You want to stay low. You want to stay low, keep your center of gravity, and then work your blade or work your release off of that.
A couple coaching points just with the jab release is make sure you're always going forward, because if you're not, then it's not really a jab. It's like a hezzy release, and we're really not working at, but we want to inch up on the defensive backs. If you have a really aggressive defensive back, the jab's probably not the best release to use. Then your hesitation might be the way to go. But if it's a patient defensive back who's sitting and he's a couple yards off, the jab is a good way to get him to move around, to be impatient, maybe use some bad defensive footwork, and then open the door for us to release. So the jab gives us a chance to start our route, get moving forward, but also to move the defender, which ultimately that's one of the keys to a good release, is to move him off his base.
And that's a great point too, Coach. You can see in these chutes, and even with the hoops, if you go back to it, the hoops aren't, right next to each other. They're almost like staggered. So you have your first step. This is lower, like Jake's doing here. Then he has to gain ground to get to that second chute. We're always gaining ground, like Coach said. So we're going to get that first step, gain ground to the second chute, and now we're working that blade through the last chute, and then finally finishing with a catch.
Yeah, now we're just working on, we added the crowns at the end. We're working on a little vertical, what I call lane change move here. We're just changing the level just to break the defensive back's running ability. We're just working a little separation technique at the end here. We're kind of combining some drills. So we're just going to have him do he's just going to nod the defender out, then he's going to get back on the line. So a little bit of what we call lane change technique here, vertical routes. When you're not running by a defender, and some of our guys aren't running by guys, and you have to figure out a way to get open. So here's the lane change with the crowns. Just kind of nods him, then he stacks him.
Good lane change.
There's another lane change. I think we have a stutter coming up here in a few minutes too, where there's another lane change and he gets back on top. It's just a good technique, a cheap technique that you can use. There's the stutter and go. So you sink in your hips, trying to sell the comeback or curl, let the defensive back take the bait, and then you reaccelerate. Jake is good at the stutters because he plays low and doesn't need a lot of time to wind up. Jerry is more of a lane change guy. You have to know what your guys do well and what they don't do well. There's a good example of the stutter.
Great rep there.
Now this is an interesting shot with the drone that combines the hoops and the shoots, and then we put some ball security together. So this is 4 or 5 guys pre-practice doing stutter drills. They're going in the opposite directions. 2 balls are being thrown, and then they're meeting in the middle through after a little agile bag pattern. Whoever gets to the pop sequence first has the right of way. The other guy has to avoid opposite. So this is just something to put it all together. Again, this was pre-practice. There's not a long throw involved here. We're just getting loose. And then you're going to catch a ball, and they're going to come through an agile bag section. Then a little more ball security. Then they're going to come through the pops. So just a little way to combine everything, tie it all together, get some ball security in, get loose, and work on some techniques.
This is great because you can kind of see the evolvement of the drill, right? We started with the hoops, then we had the shoots, and now we have it all in one big drill that we're doing here all together.
Yeah, and two guys are going at the same time, so you're getting 2 reps, and you're working on a lot of different things here. You work jab release, you got a catch, you got ball security, all right. And the nice thing is when you finish coming back this way, you're not grinding people's legs. You know, you're not running 200 yards here to get 1 ball, and that's really one of the keys when you set up a drill like this. Especially when you know, some of you guys are high school coaches. You don't have 20 receivers. You might have 4. You know, and they're also playing defense too. So it's a good way to minimize the wear and tear on people's legs.
It's a great point, Coach.
We'll skate agile bag and go through the pops and get crowned.
All right, so that's going to conclude our latest video on our jab series. All of our jab drills are ones that we've been using and we've seen success with. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Coach Heck. We're always willing to help out guys who want, you know, more drills or help or clarification on drills or, you know, any tweaks you can make for guys that work best for you. Thanks for showing.